For some time now, when I've thought about our class verse, Amos 5:4, which reads, "Seek me and live," I've thought about an elderly woman with Alzheimer's, a woman named Priscilla. My grandmother had passed away from Alzheimer's disease 3 years before I had ever met Priscilla, shortly before I came to Westmont. And to cope with my grandmother's death, I began volunteering at a senior center that specialized in caring for residents with dementia. My first day, I was excited to have some direct patient interaction, but somehow, when I arrived, the volunteer coordinator knew that I was a pianist, and so I was promptly escorted to an old upright in the corner of the living room. I was actually a bit annoyed at first, thinking none of the residents are even listening, nobody's going to appreciate this at all. But with a task at hand, I started playing, and I kept playing for 3 hours. And while I left that day feeling uncertain about the amount of help that I was actually offering, the caregivers were immensely thankful for my music. They saw subtle changes in all of their residents. Discomfort was assuaged and peace pervaded. My experience at that senior center connected directly to my music coursework at Westmont. I had begun for the first time to think critically about the purpose and the function of music in classes like Theory and Criticism in the Arts. What is music? What is music for? What is good music? At first, I was slightly dissatisfied by the answers I was presented to these questions because I longed to see my music used for something more than disinterested and individualistic contemplation. And I realized a similar dissatisfaction as I started to pursue a career in medicine. When I volunteered in clinics and shadowed physicians, I longed to experience a clinical medicine that was less clinical and more personal. And these longings led me to found the Sonare Ministry, an organization that brings Westmont musicians into the city to perform for the chronically ill and disabled, especially those with dementia. And it was through my work with Sonare that I met Priscilla. One day, we were hosting a recital at the assisted living community where Priscilla lived, and during the applause that followed our final piece, we heard an unfamiliar voice coming from the back of the room. "Bravo, bravo. I really liked that song. That was beautiful." That unfamiliar voice belonged to Priscilla, a patient in advanced stages of Alzheimer's who had not spoken in over a year. Caregivers and fellow residents alike were surprised and overjoyed at Priscilla's unexpected return to sentience. And as I left the senior center that day, a caregiver approached me and said, "You have done justice for Priscilla today." That statement confused me. How had I done justice for Priscilla? I didn't feel like I had actively fought or defeated or judged something on her behalf. But the more I thought and began to reflect on this experience, the more I realized that justice was the appropriate word here. Our class verse, "Seek me and live," is actually positioned in a chapter about justice. "Seek me so that you may live, hate evil, love good, so that you may establish justice." Loving good and loving God enables us to seek and enact justice. And I want to suggest that the category of justice is bigger than we might think. Cosmic justice, the justice that we should work towards, the justice that is part of redemption, the justice like that done in reestablishing Priscilla's relationships. That justice is fundamentally restorative. As we move from our time at Westmont to new communities, I want to encourage you to seek God by living into that restoration so that we may enact justice in His good creation. Thank you.